guys, it's Celestia, and in today's video, we're gonna be trying something a little different. I've always wanted to experiment with more storytime animation-esque content, or at least like as close to that as I can get as someone who doesn't animate, so more like Emery 2's content. So I figured, what better time to do that than with a holiday special? Everyone loves a good Christmas episode, and I've been told on multiple occasions that the way I celebrate the holiday season is notably strange. So in today's storytime video, I'm gonna take you all on a little adventure, a tour of my weirdest holiday traditions, illustrated for your viewing pleasure. But first, let me take a moment to thank today's sponsor, XP Pen. This month, XP Pen let me try out their Artist 13.3 Pro pen display tablet, and hands down, it's the nicest tablet I've ever used. First of all, the screen size is huge, which is a big win to me because it gives me more drawing space without forcing me to zoom in and out all the time or strain my already half-blind eyes. And its laminated anti-glare surface means you don't have to close every window in the room you're drawing in and live like a gremlin just to see what you're doing. It has reprogrammable express keys and even a dial to save you time undoing and redoing and switching between brushes, as well as adjusting your settings. It's super easy to adjust the brightness as needed, the screen is beautifully vibrant with great resolution, and there's no pen lag at all, making for a much smoother drawing experience. It also comes with a surprisingly nice stand, pen case, and a plethora of pen nibs, so it's got pretty much everything you need. I don't use the word beautiful a lot to describe technology, but this is a beautiful tablet. I would take this tablet out to dinner, and like a nice dinner, steak, and you guys have a chance to win it. Or the Deco Pro SW, which I've reviewed in a previous video. Thank you so much to XP Pen for sponsoring today's video, and don't forget to enter to win either the Artist 13.3 Pro or the Deco Pro SW by commenting, "All I want for Christmas is serotonin," as well as your desired method of contact on this video. Winners will be selected via random number generator and contacted via their comment or otherwise stated preferred method of contact exactly 7 days after this video is posted, and will have 72 hours to claim their prizes before new winners are drawn. Additionally, all winners must be following XP Pen on Instagram, linked in the description and shown on screen. All that aside, let's get into the real fun. Christmas. Well, Christmas and other things, because as you're about to see, my holiday traditions aren't limited to just that. I do weird things for the entire month of December to celebrate a wide variety of things, including alcoholism and anime, so buckle up kids and get ready for a Celestia Christmas. Now, I'm the kind of person who starts decorating for Halloween on September 1st to maximize the amount of Halloween celebration that I can milk from the season. So a lot of people who know that about me assume that I'm the same with Christmas, and am therefore one of those people who's all, Halloween's over, time for Christmas. This, however, is not the case, contrary to popular belief, because my birthday is in early December. As an adult, that's gradually come to mean less and less to me, since celebrating my birthday is a lot less fun when it really just means being 1 year closer to death. But as a kid, my mom made a pretty big deal out of not decorating for Christmas until my birthday was over, because she didn't want it to be completely overshadowed by it. My mom's the best. It was something I really appreciated, and while it's not something I really care about now, my wife has taken up the role in my life of not allowing Christmas decorations until after my birthday, because she wants me to love myself and feel special and all that gay stuff. So because of her love and rampant homosexuality, I still don't end up Christmas decorating until after the first week of December. But once that week is over, I go hard. Like, yes, Halloween is my favorite individual holiday, but in terms of seasons, Christmas is my favorite, or at least the series of weird holidays and traditions I celebrate in the month of December, because there are a lot, and they all mean a lot to me. So let's start with the general traditions that go on throughout that whole season first, starting the second week of December. First, naturally, is the frantic art creation. Half of the gifts I give loved ones over the holidays are art-based gifts that I make myself, so nothing says December 7th like being covered in paint and realizing that I have once again not given myself nearly enough time to make the 25 paintings I inconceivably assumed I could make before Christmas. This is a mistake I have made for like 8 consecutive years and apparently show no signs of learning from. So in addition to the 800 Christmas decorations now littering my apartment, a staple Christmas decoration in my home is also the 15 half-covered canvases of unfinished Christmas paintings that my cats dedicate their existences to stepping on and covering in hair. My other favorite decoration is our tiny Christmas tree, because as millennials that have pursued creative careers, we're poor as shit, and we subsequently do not live somewhere where we have a lot of space. And when my wife and I moved out of my dad's place when we were 17, my grandparents gave us a gift that kept that in mind. This tiny 2-foot-tall silver Christmas tree, and a bunch of matching silver and blue ornaments. We are 25 now, and we still have never bought another one. We still don't have the space to, but we also just love our tiny, shiny little guy. It's the perfect height for our cats to knock over constantly and pull the ornaments off of too, which is just, it's great. 2 generations of cats now have terrorized this tree, and that's apparently just its destiny indefinitely. Because it's so small though, we end up running out of gift space under it pretty quickly, so we end up making a gift wall around it that's high enough to defend it from cat attacks by the time Christmas actually comes around, so it works out. Speaking of cats, another tradition I had before this year was to take my kitty, Bella, out in a backpack, which sounds ridiculous, but it was a backpack that I did buy for that purpose. It wasn't like a regular school backpack with a cat smuggled in it like 3 kids in a trench coat. It was made for cats, and it had breathing holes and a huge bubble for her to see the whole world through. And I would fill it with her favorite blankets and treats, and she would get inside, and we would go for walks through our neighborhood to look at all the Christmas lights. And I know, I get it, it's impossible to tell when a cat likes something or not, but she would only meow in distress until we got to the streets with the pretty lights, and then she would start purring instead. And I personally took that to mean she actually liked them. Unfortunately, due to her having a lot of gastrointestinal problems that took a very bad turn this year, we had to say goodbye to her in March, and this is gonna be my first Christmas without her, so it's naturally not a tradition that I'll be able to continue. But I've been going for nighttime walks through those same streets anyway, because I like to think that she's still with me somehow, and still purring at the pretty lights somewhere, even if it's not on my back. Beyond that, my general Christmas season traditions are pretty normal. I obsessively watch Elf, Christmas with the Cranks, Home Alone, and the Christmas episodes of literally every show I've ever watched, usually while drinking eggnog and wrapping gifts. And I put the fireplace channel on, despite my TV being on top of an actual fireplace, which is also on. This is because ever since I was a kid, I heard rumors that the hand that occasionally pokes the fire only had 4 fingers, and I have devoted a full decade to trying to catch a glimpse of this mythical 4-fingered hand cryptid man. I never have, but I refuse to give up. I also dedicate a ridiculous amount of time to preparing my Animal Crossing town, or island more accurately now, for Christmas, but I'll get into why more later. Before we do that though, we're finally at the first actual holiday celebration. Now, for context, my wife and I are both pagan. There's a lot of stigma around what that actually means, so to be as clear as possible, we're not Satanist witches, we just love nature and have a strong appreciation for moon cycles. Obviously, that's a vast oversimplification for the sake of comedy, but the point is that it's not some malicious, ominous religion, it's really just a connection with the earth and everything that's a natural part of it. And as such, we celebrate solstices as a pretty big deal, and Yule is one of them. We celebrate it on December 21st, the winter solstice, or the shortest day of the year. It's officially considered to be the first full day of winter, although in my province in Canada, it has almost always been winter for like 2 months before that anyway. Paganism isn't really all that particular in terms of how these holidays are celebrated, so although there are definitely some customs that are pretty universal regardless of personal preference, pagans are largely free to decide how to celebrate these solstices based on what they believe in. I mean, Christmas trees were originally a pagan tradition, but don't get me started. Anyway, for us, we're exceptionally non-traditional. Yes, part of our Yuletide celebration is traditional, and I'll leave that out because it's pretty normal. But the other part of our Yuletide celebration is to eat sushi and watch Simon Pegg movies. I don't have an explanation for that. It's not a pagan thing. It just, we're supposed to have some kind of feast together, and that always ended up being sushi. And then we were supposed to exchange gifts that pertain to our faith, which we did, but we did so while watching Hot Fuzz. And now it's just turned into a yearly thing where we celebrate Yule by ordering in sushi and watching pretty much any good Simon Pegg movie, which is all of them, so we've seen a lot. The World's End, Hot Fuzz, Paul, Shaun of the Dead, even Inheritance, which is so far from his normal comedy genre. Like, if it's Simon Pegg, we watch it and eat sushi. I can't explain it, it just happened, and now it happens every year. Anyway, that's December 21st. After that, our next tradition begins with Christmas Eve. And yes, you heard me right. We celebrate the day before Christmas Eve, and we genuinely, unironically, without shame, call it Christmas Eve. And Christmas Eve might consist of the absolute weirdest holiday traditions you've ever heard of, because they're way weirder than Simon Pegg and sushi. The tamest of them is that we open stockings. My wife and I spent the majority of December preparing stocking stuffers for each other, which are currently hung on our fireplace. Although our landlord is evicting us without notice, so that tradition will probably have to end this year unless we move somewhere else with a fireplace. Regardless, even without one, we will still fill stockings, and unlike most people, we open them with each other on December 23rd. And unlike most people, we make stockings for our cats, which we also open that night, usually while watching Elf for the 14th time that season. They're full of toys and treats, and we like to pretend that they understand that we're letting them open gifts early as if the date has any kind of significance at all to them. After that, the really weird traditions start, the ones that make absolutely no sense. Like buying your pets gifts, that's weird, but it's the kind of weird that probably half the world's population takes part in. Christmas Eve traditions start taking an inexplicably strange turn after roughly 6 or 7 p.m., at which point things get very specific. We order Wendy's, and I get a cheeseburger and spicy fries, despite my stomach problems, and when it gets there, we spend the entire night watching Helsing Abridged on YouTube, drinking rum and eggnog. All of this is terrible for my stomach, and it does cause long-term damage and a lot of pain, but I do it literally one night a year, and one night of feeling like a normal person is worth it to to me. It's a tradition I started when my stomach was fine, and I honestly couldn't tell you why, but as someone on the spectrum with OCD and an eidetic memory, repeating it is a really big deal to me, because every December 3rd, I would literally physically see the first time I did that being watching really offensive, shitty anime dubs while eating bad fast food, naturally. And I desperately felt the need to repeat it, so I did, and now it's been like 5 years, and I do it every year. Apparently, I can't be stopped, because despite the fact that Christmas is supposed to be wholesome and positive and good, my biggest seasonal tradition is to drink rum and eggnog, order horrible food, and watch offensive anime full of jokes that have aged like milk. And then, if I manage to finish the bad anime without passing out first, BoJack Horseman is what I finished the night watching, because nothing says Christmas like animated depression. None of this actually makes me feel depressed, for the record. I mean, despite how depressing and ridiculous it sounds, I genuinely find this tradition comforting. I can't explain it, and I really don't see a whole hell of a lot of value in trying to. Don't kick a gift horse in the mouth, especially when this one's already having a hard enough time. But now that brings us to Christmas Eve, something normal people normally celebrate. We still don't celebrate that normally either, because my parents got divorced pretty early on in my life. Not that that's statistically abnormal by any means, but it did result in a vaguely odd seasonal tradition worth mentioning. So because they got divorced, I got to spend Christmas Eve with my mom, and then my dad would get me for Christmas Day. As a result of that, my mom and I basically celebrated Christmas on Christmas Eve, so that we could have that celebration together regardless of my dad and his family, which meant developing some odd December 24th traditions. The first of those is also food related, and for context, my family is very Dutch. But my mom's parents taught her a lot of Dutch recipes without teaching her what they were called, which led to her raising me with a bunch of very delicious meals with very ridiculous stand-in names that we gave them because we didn't know the real ones. The one that was my absolute favorite was one that we called Potato Thing, which we later learned is actually called fuksandaivi, and is basically just mashed potatoes, romaine lettuce, and cut up bacon all mixed together. Technically, you're supposed to eat it plain with butter or with Maggi, which is like soy sauce but different, but I usually drowned it in sour cream instead. There's another really good one that we called Potato Carrot Thing, which is mashed potatoes, mashed carrots, and cut up sausage all mixed together, and that's delicious too, but original Potato Thing was always my all-time favorite. So despite there being literally no significance to it culturally, my mom made it for me every Christmas Eve just because she knew it was my favorite and she's an exceptionally sweet person. And it became a yearly tradition that we religiously maintained. I can't eat it anymore, but God do I miss it. And then we would exchange chocolate letters, which is another Dutch tradition that actually does make seasonal sense, and then open Christmas crackers from the tree, and then each other's gifts a day early. The first gift we open is always the same, and that is our famed Christmas Eve pajamas. My mom always got us matching pajamas that we would open first and then change into to open gifts. And now that my wife and her partner are a part of the family, they both get Christmas Eve pajamas too, and are forced to change into them immediately before they're allowed to open gifts. Both my wife and my mom's partner have been very welcomed into our ridiculously rigid but lovely traditions, to the point that they would even let us bring our cats over to their place so that the whole family could be together. This led to some very fond memories, naturally, like the time Bella knocked an entire plant onto her own body, got covered in soil, and then proceeded to get vacuumed by my mom, or the time my wife decorated my mom's partner's very grumpy cat in a kerchief and a bunch of wrapping paper and bows, and he actually just walked around like that for a good 15 minutes. Anyway, my mom's partner actually became a huge part of our traditions because honestly, he's just the best. First, he always wraps one gift for me and one gift for my wife in exceedingly ridiculous and impressive ways. Like, my wife loves Harley Quinn, so he wrapped her gifts to look like a life-sized version of Harley's hammer. It was amazing. And then when we moved and he had to bring gifts to us and he couldn't shape them ridiculously anymore, he started wrapping them with an entirely new variety of creativity: the wrapping paper itself. He wrapped my gift in Pokemon cards and my wife's in packs of Skittles, with so many layers of tape that it took us like 15 minutes just to open them. A picture exists of me hoarding the resulting pile of Pokemon card packs like a dragon hoarding jewels, and I treasure it. But not only that, he's also an incredible artist, and we started this tradition where every year we exchanged this sketchbook where we've drawn the other person something Christmas themed. He started it with X-Files fan art that said Merry Xmas, and last year I returned it with Wolverine covered in Christmas lights saying Merry fucking Xmas with the X-Men logo. It's his turn again this year, and I'm honestly so excited to see what he's gonna do. Finally, after that, we always watched a very particular animated edition of A Christmas Carol every year, which isn't that weird in and of itself were it not for the fact that I still watch it every year as an adult and via the same DVD that I used as a kid out of pure OCD. I don't even have a DVD player. I have to watch it on my PS2. It has scratches. I'm looking into paying ridiculous amounts of money to get those scratches fixed, just so that I can keep playing it. I can't defend it with any actual logic beyond my brain saying it needs to be the same DVD, otherwise it won't work. Regardless, that was always how we ended off Christmas Eve, and then we'd head home with Potato Thing leftovers, comfy pajamas, and a more wholesome understanding of the proper Christmas spirit. Since I moved away and am way too agoraphobic like to go to my mom's place in that same town overnight for this tradition now, we're more limited, especially given that I also can't eat the food that was always such a big part of it. But we do still open gifts together on Christmas Eve on a video call, and we still watch A Christmas Carol afterwards, and it's still a lovely night that I treasure every time. And now we're finally at Christmas Day, which, when I was a kid, always started with my dad making a huge Christmas breakfast and pancakes in any shape I requested, frequently hearts and Mickey Mouse. Sometimes a cat. I don't see any of my family on Christmas Day anymore because of the aforementioned agoraphobia, and I also can't really eat any part of that traditional Christmas breakfast anymore. But that doesn't stop me from making it all myself anyway, and then just piling these ridiculous amounts of food around my wife like it's even vaguely humanly possible for one person to eat it all. She's very patient with me. Before that though, Christmas morning now usually begins with me waking up at an ungodly hour because despite being a grown adult woman, I'm so excited to open gifts with my wife that I can't stay asleep. Then I make myself a coffee with eggnog and harass my wife to get out of bed like a little kid trying to wake up their parent and get them as excited as they are because it's Christmas, hello! And then she begrudgingly gets out of bed and we put on the fireplace channel and our Christmas playlist and huddle around our tiny tree opening each other's gifts. It's also around this time that I start blaring Come On Ring Those Bells by Evie and singing along as badly as I possibly can because my whole family on my dad's side plays that song and sings it every single Christmas morning. And my wife hates it so much that I've made it a point to serenade her with it as passionately and horribly as I possibly can every year. Gives me a good chuckle, especially because I'm like this aggressively non-traditional pagan belting out Jesus is the king born for you and me. It doesn't help that my dad will then proceed to call me and then she has to go through it all over again because my whole family on that side gets together at my grandparents' place or my uncle's place every Christmas. So they're all together there when he calls and they all know how much she hates that song. So I put them on speaker and they all sing it to her together, which I naturally join in on. Again, she puts up with a lot. And honestly, that's pretty much where it ends in terms of real celebration on Christmas Day. My agoraphobia is really limiting now because even though my whole family on my dad's side is meeting up on Christmas Day only an hour away and I desperately want to be with them, I just can't do it. And to always be the only one that's not there year after year because of my own stupid phobia really hurts. It's lonely. It's a really lonely life sometimes, especially around this time of year. But that said, my wife and I still make sure the day is special with smaller traditions that we've built with each other, like the Terry's chocolate orange I get her every year because her grandma always used to, or watching Doctor Who Christmas episodes, or the fact that we always buy each other that year's newest Pokemon game and spend the day playing it together while watching Christmas movies. The Christmas movies always take me back to when I was a kid because my cousins and I always watched the ones that were on TV together at my grandparents' house, which usually ended up being Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and the Island of the Misfit Toys. There was also this one weirdly dark animated Christmas movie that I've only ever been able to half remember, but it's so ominous and I remember so little about it, but there's this one single frame of it that lives on in my memory forever, like some Candle Cove-ass creepypasta I can't escape. Anyway, then we watch more BoJack Horseman, I finish the Roman eggnog, and my wife and I just vibe together with Pokemon and familial sentimentality for the rest of the night. But our New Year's Eve celebrations are so important to us that they're worth mentioning here too, so let's get into that next. See, my wife and I met online and spent the first year of our relationship long distance. This means that we had all of our dates through Animal Crossing New Leaf because we're just gay little nerds with way too much love for that franchise. And our very first New Year's Eve together, we voice chatted on Facebook Messenger while watching the in-game fireworks because even though she was across the country in another time zone, it was midnight at the same time in our Animal Crossing towns and our little mares could welcome the new year with each other. And it was that night that I first realized I was in love with her. And now every year at midnight, we don't go see actual fireworks. We turn on our Switches and we watch them together in Animal Crossing just like the first time. We listen to the music that always takes us back to that night and just enjoy the nostalgia. It's why setting up my island for the holidays is such a big deal to me because I always give her a tour of it first just before the fireworks, and the tradition is just weirdly important to us both. Because New Year's Eve has always been so special for us, we've also ended up developing some other weird gay traditions for the night that sound even weirder when I actually list them and now say them out loud. For example, we always order sushi just like on Yule, and despite always drinking out of fancy champagne flutes that night, neither of us actually drink champagne. She doesn't drink, so she drinks sparkling fruit juice, and I drink rum and Diet Coke. And with the sushi and the champagne-less champagne flutes, we watch This Is the End, because apparently the best way to bring in the new year is by watching a movie about celebrities handling the apocalypse with the maturity of a society of toddlers, and then getting raptured to heaven to dance with the Backstreet Boys. After that, we play Mario Party, at which point my grudge against Wario and her grudge against Peach become particularly apparent because we don't get competitive against each other. We spew death threats exclusively at these two with increasing aggression as the night goes on. And that brings me to the end of this little summary of a Celestia Christmas. We don't actually really do anything on New Year's Day because honestly, I always feel a little down. I love all our weird ass little traditions so much that knowing they're all over for another year makes me sad. But but there's always next year, and I always look forward to them all over again, so it works out. Thank you for going on this holiday journey with me. I hope you enjoyed both the stories and the new way I'm experimenting with telling them. Let me know, and if you did, I'll mess around with it more in future videos. But what about you guys? Do you have any weird holiday traditions that sound ridiculous to other people but are oddly important to you? I genuinely want to know because it can't just be me, so let me know in the comments. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. Special thank you as always to channel members Cafe Soleil, Joseph Solomon, and Lotus Dreams Art, as well as patrons Batman, Kyle Lowe, Blue Swanson, This Is Totally My Name, Unity, Cora Fear, Jamisha Walker, Alengshi, Soul Crystal, Kim Yen, Shamil Sheep, Crazy Hisar, Gen Tong, and Jacobus Peterson for their support, and I'll see you in the next one.